She was someone who would always fight for you. Like everyone in my family knew, like if you needed someone to be in your corner, she would do it in any form, shape, or way. The stories people have told me about my mom that I really do enjoy. Firstly, it's just like getting to know that we're not alike. You know, everyone is always constantly saying we're so different. Like my mom and I, we're so different, but yet there's so many similarities in terms of like our personality traits. But my mom was bold. You know, she owned the space. You could never tell her anything. Super stubborn. I have a little bit of that, not as much as her. She's very feisty. And I'm not necessarily all those things. I'm not necessarily like super bold, you know, I'm a little bit more warm and soft, but I'm a super like fight for people. I'm like advocacy for everyone in my life, but I'm not, I mean, like, yeah, we have some yin and yangs with me and her, but those are the things that I find pretty interesting about my mom, that she was just like this insanely awesome human being. What I remember about my mom is her being ill. That's a lot of the memories I have of my mom was her when she was ill. So I don't necessarily have memories of my mom in, you know, in the normal mother to daughter relational where you're talking what kind of parent she was. I was 5 when she passed on, and she had me prematurely because she was diagnosed with breast cancer. So majority of my childhood she was always in and out of the hospital. Everyone was always around her. Everyone was always taking care of her. You know, you couldn't play in her room because I couldn't just jump on top of her because she had breast cancer. And you know, her body had deteriorated to such an extent that, you know, that we had to clean her off all the time. So I think, yeah, I mean, a lot of the memories I have of her being around her was she was ill. She was just sort of there, but we didn't really have much conversations. The energy she embodied for me was, there was just like she had such a certainty about her, like a surety about her, you know. My dad was problematic as usual, but she just never, you know, nothing really moved my mom. You know, when she came in the house, it's like everything just got into order. There was just like this energy about her that she didn't have to yell and scream and shout, but there was just like an energy of like, okay, we need to pull ourselves towards ourselves here. Like, you know, things just got into gear. So there was like a strong energy of like surety when she was around. Like you knew things would happen. You knew you were safe. You knew like we were fine. So that's an energy that I always just remember. The hardest part about not growing up with my mom extends to many different things. I would, you know, if I were to mention like the biggest thing for me was just wanting to belong, because I think having a mom is just, when I look at other people in my life who have moms, and my, you know, my cousins and people, my friends having moms, having a mom, you like, even if like the world rejects you, like if your mom thinks you're fine, you can hang on sort of like that validation until you grow some form of identity, right? So for me, I think it affected me in that the you know, the people whom I lived with, and I lived with many different families, I just never got that you're good, you're okay, you don't have to do anything to be accepted and loved, right? So I always knew transactional love. You know, Nonny is a yes, you know, cooks, cleans, takes care of everyone, we're good. You know, it was just I could never be a child. I was never like, I never could relax. I was always performing, always doing well, always sort of living up to an expectation constantly. So I felt, yeah, I think the hardest part about not having my mom is that I couldn't be a child. I couldn't. I just had to grow up, and I had to, you know, if I had issues and if I felt a certain way, I either had to reach out to friends or my little community that I'd created outside of my family or my caregivers in order to sort of get that validation. A sense of belonging is something I really had to work hard on. I really had to work hard on, like, I am enough. I don't have to keep doing things to get some form of acceptance. So I think for me, not having my mom, that was the hardest, because even looking at women around me, they had that, you know, they had, if something wasn't going okay, or if a relationship wasn't going okay, they would be like, you know, I'll talk to my mom. We may not have the most amazing relationship, but I know that my mom will let me know that you're bigger than this, we can get through it, you'll be fine, you know. So I think for me, that was the hardest thing, that I had to do that for myself. So I had to parent myself. Particular incidences that happened in my childhood where I felt I didn't belong were mainly in households where I was not the only girl child in the house. So where there was another girl in the house, and we were usually around the same ages. And because this was their home and their parents had said, oh, we'll take care of Nonny for like 3 years, because that's what would happen. Like, so a family would say, we'll take care of her for 3 years. Then they'd be like, okay, we can't anymore. Can someone else take her? And then someone else will take me for like 5 years. You know, so it'd be like, I wouldn't be part of that decision-making process, firstly. So my voice was not, I didn't have a voice for a very long time. I had to work on, like, I can have an opinion, I can disagree, I can say no without having to defend my niceness. Like, I am a nice person, I don't have to defend it by just letting things happen. So I think it always showed up in those situations where I lived in homes with other females or young girls, and there'd be a very clear distinction between how their mother would treat them and how they would treat me. So I shared this about my mom on Mother's Day. A letter really just expressing the type of woman she was and still is in spirit. So I will read what I shared. Is that fine? Okay, so my mom was the definition of the beautiful complexities of being a woman. She was fierce, warm, kind, bold, and someone people felt they could always get perspective from. On Mother's Day, I will be celebrating this legendary life by writing her a letter and letting it go with a balloon tied. This is a symbol of letting go of the pain of not having her around in the physical, but yet celebrating a life that has contributed to the woman I am. I love who I am, I love who I'm becoming, and I know that she would, that she's with me always. So that was the message I shared about my mom. I've always experienced Mother's Day very somber and like really sad, and it's, you know, Mother's Day and my mom's birthday. My mom's birthday is on the 9th of May, and then Mother's Day comes really soon after, so it's always like a tricky week for me. And I think because I've just been doing the work of like my emotional health, I mean, I still feel sad when I think about my mom, and I miss her, and there's so many things I would have loved to share with her. But I think I've just, yeah, well, not that I think, I've made like a decision that in moments when it's like her birthday or Mother's Day, I want it actually to be fun. Like, I want it to be light, I want it to be good, I want it to be all these things that represent her, that yeah, she's not here, and yes, like, it is sad, but when I wrote that, it was more like I felt, I feel stronger now than I've ever before in my life, and I really wanted to share that in sharing Mother's Day in the sense that like you're gone and I miss you immensely. But I'm like this woman and I feel so strong and so comfortable in my skin, which is not always the case. And you know, I'm this product of who you are, and even though you've missed out on 23 years of my life. So I think, yeah, it stemmed from that. It stemmed from more like I'm celebrating this day that you're not here, but I'm also celebrating that I love who I'm becoming, and it's all because of you.